Hey everybody, what's up? I'm going to do a little video here for the section 2.4 homework. This is the algebra of functions. So we're going to kick it off here. We've got a bunch of stuff where, we're adding functions, subtracting functions, finding the product of functions, and the quotient of functions. So here's an example of function addition. So I've got these two formulas. Okay, let's see. Let's do it like that. So I've got this formula for f of x, which is x squared minus 4. So f of x is x squared minus 4. And g of x is x minus 1. Okay. And as I said in the notes, when you're looking for a sum, right, f plus g of x, which we'll rewrite here. The notation's kind of weird, f of x plus g of x, right? We first write it for some reason like this, right? But really f plus g of x, you're just adding the two the formulas together. So that's all we do. And with the addition, function addition, it really just amounts to collecting like terms, right? So here's my formula for f of x, right? F of x is this. And then I just add my formula for g of x, right? G of x was this. Okay, and I'm just getting those formulas, right? I can underline even up here, right? So that's where I'm getting those formulas. Okay, and then at this point, like I said, you're just collecting like terms. So there's only one x squared term, so I'm just going to bring down x squared. I'm going to bring down plus x. All I can do is minus 4 minus 1, that's minus 5. And that is it. Fairly straightforward on the function addition. So now we've got to pick out our answer, which is that x squared plus x minus 5. Okay, product, function product here. So this time we have f of x is x squared minus 2. And we have g of x, x plus 3. And now this would be called the product. We're multiplying them together. So it's f times g of x. And again, we'll rewrite that as f of x times g of x. Okay, so I'm just going to take the formula for f, x squared minus 2, times the formula for g, x plus 3. And this is just going to be a FOIL problem, which is typically what these tend to be, right? If we're doing a product of functions, we usually are just foiling the two formulas together. So f of x, right? X squared minus 2, that's right there. G of x, x plus 3, right? That's coming from up there. All right, and so now we're just doing our FOIL stuff. So first terms are x squared times x. That gives me x to the third power. First outer, x squared times 3. Plus 3x squared, inner, minus 2 times x, minus 2x, and then last, minus 2 times 3, minus 6. And yeah, and it looks like in this case, it works out where that's it, right? I don't think there are any like terms there for me to collect. So I've got a cubic, a quadratic, a linear, and a constant term. Can't collect any of those. So let's see, let me find my answer. It should have 4 terms, and that's it, D. Okay, so now this is kind of weird. They're trying to trick us here. So notice they're giving us f of x and g of x again. Okay, g of x is x minus 3. But then what they ask us to find is g times g of x. Looks kind of weird. Looks like gig x. G times g of x. Well, that doesn't involve f of x, right? That would be g of x times g of x. So, instead of using the formula for f, both parentheses will have x minus 3, right? So that just means x minus 3 times x minus 3, right? Both of them are g of x. And if I FOIL that out, so x times x is x squared. The outer and inner terms both give me minus 3x. Right? X times minus 3x, minus 3 times x, also minus 3x. Minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. And now I'm going to collect that minus 3x, to minus 6x plus 9. There you go. So x squared minus, there should be another equals there. X squared minus 6x plus 9. Check my answer. All right, what do we got here? Okay, so now we're switching it up a little bit. So now we're actually going to be finding f of -4 plus g of -4. So instead of f of x plus g of x, we're finding that sum of the two functions at a particular point on our graph, right? Like x is -4, what would that sum function be? So here there are a couple of ways to go about this. Let's write the formulas down. So f of x is this line, -16x plus 15. And g of x is a quadratic x squared plus 2. And so we want f of -4 plus g of -4. Well, one way to do this would be to first find that sum function f plus g of x, right? Which would be just like the last problems we did. Remember, this is sort of the easy one where I'm just collecting like terms in the two formulas. So I take the formula for f, -16x plus 15. I add the formula for g to that, x squared plus 2. I just collect like terms, so that gives me x squared minus 16x, right? Those just I carry down. Plus 15 plus 2 is plus 17. Okay, so that's one way to do it, right? So this would be f plus g of x. And then, excuse me, I can look up here, right? That would be basically plugging -4, right? If I plug -4 into this formula here, right? So there and there, that's one way to find it. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so f plus g of -4. Okay, so I plug in my -4 everywhere I see the x. So -4 squared minus 16 times -4 plus 17. Okay, and so let's see, can we do this by hand? -4 squared is 16, positive 16, minus 16 times -4. That would be, let's see, 16 times 2 is 32, so 16 times 4 will be 64. And then plus 17. Okay, so why don't we just use our calculator there at the end? 16 plus 64 plus 17, and we get 97. Okay, so that's one way to find the answer. Now, you also could have taken the formula for f of x, which was, let's see, -16x plus 15. And then g is x squared plus 2. Okay, you could find f of -4 and g of -4. Okay, so there, that would be f. We'd have to solve that out. Here's g. Right, you're going to get the same thing either way. So this would give me 64 plus 15. This would give me 16 plus 2. 64 plus 15 would be 79. 16 plus 2 would be 18, right? And now if I add those two function values together, right, this would also give me 97. So, you know, I think you can do all the problems where you're finding not an f of x or like f plus g of x, but, you know, you're finding f plus g of a value, right? Now, let me go back. Guess what I'm saying is, like on this problem, number 3, right? I can't do that other way on number 3 because it's actually asking me, what's this new formula? Okay, now on the ones where it's not asking me for a new formula, it's asking me for f of -4 plus g of -4. That's when you can do it either way. You can find the new formula and then plug in -4 to the new formula like we did here, right? Or you can just leave the formulas as they are, find the two function values here and here, and then add those function values together like we did there, right? And you'll get the same thing, right? Both ways we got 97. Okay, it's kind of up to you. And I think going forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the way finding the new formula and then plugging the number into the new formula. Okay, so here we've got f of 8 minus g of 8. Okay. And the reason I like this way better is because this gives you practice at finding the new formula, which you have to do on the test and in some of these homework problems. So it's good to get that practice finding the new formula. So that's why I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so here, let's write them down. F of x is negative 14x plus 19. G of x is x squared plus 13. And we're finding a difference this time, f of 8 minus g of 8. F of 8 minus g of 8. And remember, that's going to be like, you know, the notation is weird, I know, right? But that I'm going to write that because what I'm about to find first is this. I'm going to find f minus g of x, and then I'm going to plug in 8 to that formula to get the answer to this problem. So first, let's find f minus g of x. F minus g of x, which involves subtracting the formulas, f of x minus g of x. So here, I'm going to plug in f of x. Now, I mentioned this in the notes video. A lot of people miss this because they don't put parentheses around the formula for g of x, right? If I'm subtracting off g of x, I need to make sure I change the sign on every term of g of x. Right, this parentheses means the minus goes to the x squared and to the 13. Okay, so don't be one of those people that doesn't put the parentheses around the g of x formula and then doesn't distribute the minus sign. Okay, so now got negative 14x plus 19 minus x squared minus 13, right? So if you don't use the parentheses, you end up with a plus 13, and that throws your answer off. Okay, so my new formula, so let me put the negative x squared first, then minus 14x, plus 19 minus 13 would be plus 6. Okay, so that's your f minus g of x, f minus g of x. And so now if I want f minus g of 8, I can just plug 8 into this new formula. So negative 8 squared minus 14 times 8 plus 6. Okay, and so at this point, I'm just going to get this answer in my calculator. Now, I do want to point something out. Negative 8 squared, if you look at that first term right there. Okay, so negative 8 squared, that's actually going to be negative 64. Notice the negative is sort of outside the square, and that's because where's the negative, right? In the formula, the negative is right here, right? So the square does not go to the negative. Now, that's confusing because let's say we have an x squared term in a formula, right? And then we plug negative 8 in for x, then it looks like this, negative 8 squared. And that's positive 64. So that's just a little word to the wise, right? The difference between these two is here, the negative does not get the square. Here, it's negative 8 times negative 8. That's positive 64. This is like negative 8 times 8, which is negative 64. Okay, so now, that's just a little aside. Now let's go ahead and figure out what the answer is to this problem. So it's negative 8 squared. And if you enter it in your calculator the way it's written like that, it knows, you know, how to do it. So the calculator is useful for that. And then plus 6, I think, is what we can't see. So that's negative 170. So now we'll go over here. It is negative 170. Whoa. And check our answer. Okay, so we got that one. Number 6, we have a product of these two functions. Okay, and this time it's, check real quick. Okay. So this time it's, let's see, f of x is negative 8x plus 18. negative 8x plus 18. And g of x is x squared plus 3. X squared plus 3. Okay. So what are we trying to find? F of negative 7 times g of negative 7. Okay, so that's going to be the same as the joint formula f times g of x evaluated at negative 7. Sorry, so let's make it look like that. Okay, so now we're going to find f times g of x. Okay, so f times g of x, which is going to be f of x times g of x. So I'm just going to FOIL those two together. So it's negative 8x plus 18. That's a formula for f of x times x squared plus 3. Formula for g of x. All right, negative 8x times x squared is negative 8x to the third. Negative 8x times 3 is minus 24x. Plus 18 times x squared is plus 18x squared. And then plus 18 times 3. Let's see, 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 8 is 24, so it's 54. Okay, and now let's just reorder it. You don't really have to do this, but my mind likes to see it like this. Minus 24x, right? This is in order of descending powers of x, right? Which is kind of the standard way to write it. Okay, so that's our new formula for f times g of x. And now we're going to find, what did they ask us? Negative 7. Now we're going to find f times g of negative 7. So negative 8 times negative 7 to the third plus 18 times negative 7 squared minus 24 times negative 7 plus 54. Okay, so a long line of math there. So let's just use our calculator. So let's see, we have negative 8 times negative 7 to the third plus 18 times negative 7 squared minus 24 times negative 7 minus 24 times negative 7 and then plus 54. Okay, what does that give me? Whoa, 3,848. 3,848. Sometimes you get a big number and you think like, did I do something wrong? But let's just try it. I think that might be right. 3,848. Yes, we got it. So you can get a big number on a lot of the ones in this section. Okay. Now we're going to do a quotient here on number 7. So this is f of 4 divided by g of 4. Okay. F of 4 divided by g of 4, and I should write my formulas down, right? F of x is negative 16x plus 8. G of x is x squared plus 9. Now the quotient, it gets a little tricky when we start talking about the domain of the quotient, but actually finding the formula for the quotient, right? We want to find what we sometimes write it like this, f over g of x, right? Or I'll just show you, they write it a lot of different ways. Sometimes it looks like that, I think. Okay, but all it is you take the formula for f of x and then you just divide it by the formula for g of x like that. So it's real easy to find, right? Because there's really nothing to do. You just write it like this, right? The formula for f over the formula for g, right? And that's it. That would be f over g of x. And so now if I want f of 4 over g of 4, right? It's the same thing. I didn't rewrite it, right? But this is equal to f over g of 4. Okay, so I've got that new formula, and now let me just plug 4 into the new formula I found. So f over g of 4 is going to be negative 16 times 4 plus 8, right? That would be f of 4 right there, divided by g of 4, which is 4 squared plus 9. Okay, and again, another one where it might be nice. Let's just find that in our calculator. So some of you will have the calculator that can do a fraction if you hit alpha F1. right? So for y'all, you'll just enter it like negative 16 times 4 plus 8 in the numerator, and then divide by 4 squared plus 9. The nice thing about this is it will give you a fraction, right? Which I think type an integer or simplified fraction. So that is your simplified fraction right there. Now, if you have like a TI-83 or the older model TI-84, yours will not do that nice fraction line there. So you have to use parentheses around the numerator, right? All right, so that those outer parentheses there, right, tell it, okay, that's the numerator divided by, now parentheses around the denominator, 2, 4 squared plus 9. Okay, and now this is going to give you a decimal, and then you'll have to say math fraction. Okay, and then it'll give you that. So negative 56/25. 6/25, or as we saw, it's about negative 2.24. So I type my negative, I get in that box there, negative 56/25. Check that. Okay, got it. Okay, so I might skip this one, right? I'm not going to do every single one, especially we've already done several like this. So now you're here again. You know, which one is this just like? It's like the one we started with, right? So let's go back to number 1. Okay, so you have a formula for F and a formula for G. And what you're finding is F plus G of X, right? So your answer, just like in number 1, your answer on number 8 will be a formula like this. Okay, and really the only difference is it's not multiple choice. Okay, so you're going to have to write your formula, write the answer in there to just, you know, collect like terms. It's the one where all you're doing is it's going to be x squared minus 3x, and then you're going to add 4 and 5 together. So it's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 9. Okay, so that'll be that on 8. Okay, on number 9. For the pair of functions, find the indicated sum, difference, product, or quotient. Okay, so now it's going to tell us, okay, we want the difference, f minus g of x, when f of x is 9x minus 7 and g of x is 3x minus 9. Okay, so let's go back over here. We will do this one. I don't think we've done a difference yet when we're just looking for the formula, right? We're not evaluating the difference at a particular value of x, but we're just looking for the new formula. In this case, f minus g of x, when f is 9x minus 7, and then g of x is 3x minus 9. All right, so f minus g of x. So let's write that here, f minus g of x. Remember, that will be f of x minus g of x. Okay, and this is the one where you have to remember the parentheses around g of x. Okay, so the formula for f of x is 9x minus 7, right? Minus the formula for g of x, 3x minus 9. Okay, so again, hopefully everybody's following along, but right, f of x is this, and I'm right, that's where I figure out what f of x is. It tells me that f of x is 9x minus 7. And then the minus comes from, right, it's asking me for f minus g of x. Then the formula for g of x, right, g of x is this, and that came from here. Okay, so I know sometimes that's confusing. People, you know, it's like, where did the two formulas come from? Well, they give you the formulas in the problem. So just a little extra help there if anybody's feeling confused. So now I've got 9x minus 7 minus 3x, and then here minus 9 is plus 9, right? So again, if you don't use a parentheses, right, what do you end up with? You end up with 3x minus 9, right? And so then what happens is minus 7 minus 9, you get minus 16, but really it's minus 9, which is plus 9, right? So here's what you should get. 9x minus 3x is 6x, minus 7 plus 9 is plus 2. Okay, so there's your new formula, 6x plus 2. Looks like that's B for me. Okay, another one of these. Now notice this time it'll get you, right? This is G minus F. So instead of F minus G, right, they can sometimes put the G first. Okay, so in this one, what are we on now? Number 10. Okay, so f of x is negative 4x plus 4. And g of x is x squared minus 2. And then g minus f of x. All right, so they've changed the order on it. So that's going to be g of x first and then minus f of x. Okay, so g of x is x squared minus 2 minus f of x. And now remember that parentheses, negative 4x plus 4. Okay, so this gives me x squared minus 2 minus negative 4 would be plus 4x. And then minus positive 4 is minus 4. And so then collect our like terms. We get x squared looks like plus 4x minus 2 minus 4 is minus 6. And that will be the new formula. That would be g minus f of x. And then so here that's not multiple choice. So x squared plus 4x minus 6. X squared plus 4x minus 6. Okay. All right, number 11. So let's see, we've got big F and big G, and you're finding F minus G of negative 3. So again, I think I'll skip this one. You know, we did several like this. Let me see, let's find one to kind of compare. So where's one where we did an F minus G? Here we go. All right, so just look back maybe at number 5. Erase that full. Here we go. All right, look back at number 5. Right? You got a formula for F, a formula for G, and you're finding F of 8 minus G of 8 on number 5, right? So what we did is we found our new formula for F minus G of X, and then we plugged whatever that number was. In this case, it was 8, right? We plugged 8 in for X in the new formula. So it's same exact thing, right? It's X squared minus 6 minus G of X, so parentheses 17 minus X, find the new formula, and then plug negative 3 in for X, okay? That's number 11. All right, let's look at number 12 because they're throwing us a curveball here. Okay, let's go down. Let's see. Here we go. So we've got our f of x and g of x, and they're using capital letters just to kind of mix things up. So capital F of x is x squared minus 7, and then g of x is 15 minus x. Okay, and so f times g, what we want is f times g of b. Okay, so that's kind of weird, right? Why are they doing b? Well, b would stand for some spot, right? It's like this is our particular point we're interested in, but instead of saying let's find f times g of 4 or f times g of 5, we're saying we're just going to call it b. I don't know why, right? But anyway, you know, so that what we're going to do is it's the exact same thing. We're going to find f times g of x, and then when we find that new formula, we're just going to substitute a b in for the x. That's all there is to it. So f of x times g of x. Okay, so again, this is like one where we're just going to FOIL them out, right? So capital F, big F is x squared minus 7. Big G is 15 minus x. Okay, so now FOIL those out. X squared times 15 is 15x squared. Outer terms, x squared times minus x to the third. Enter minus 7 times 15. Let's see. 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 5 is 35. 70 and 35 are 105. So minus 105. Minus 7 times minus x would be plus 7x. Okay, so let's put this in our standard form, right? Descending powers of x. So negative x to the third plus 15x squared plus 7x minus 105. Okay, and then we'll write out here again. So that's f times g of x. And now we want f times g of b. So all I've got to do is just instead of writing X, let's just write B. Kind of a weird exercise, but you know, half of understanding algebra is just understanding the notation. And so anyway, so, you know, you can just say, well, what if I wanted to change the X out for a B? Let's write the formula in terms of B. You can do that. Okay, so now let me write my formula in here. I've got negative B to the third plus, let's see, what was it? Plus 15B squared plus 7B plus 7B minus 105. Minus 105. And let's see if we got it. Yes. Okay. All right, here's a f over g of 5. Okay, so I think I'll skip this one as well, right? You know, what do you need to do? You need to find f of 5, or you can find the new formula, right? If the new formula for f over g is x squared minus 10 over 9 minus x, right? And then just plug 5 in there. So it's going to be 5 squared minus 10 divided by 9 minus x. I'll show you here, if you get on a roll with these, you might, you know, I know some of y'all are really good with your calculator. You might just want to start doing it like this, right? You could just go right in here, get a fraction, and just do like this. 5, right? 5 is the number you're plugging in for x. F is on top, so go 5 squared minus 10 divided by g is 9 minus x, so 9 minus 5. This will just give you the answer right away. So there's definitely some time saving things you can do. 15 divided by 4. And then just pop that in there. 15 divided by 4. Okay. So I think the next one, yeah. So now we're going to talk about the domain real quick at the end of this homework section. So the thing to remember about finding the domain is for the sum, difference, and product, the domain of those, we call them composite functions, is just the same as whatever the domains of f and g are, right? So if there's any restriction on f and g, that restriction is in the domain of the sum, difference, and product. But like in this case, right, notice there's no restriction on the domains of f and g. So here you might want to watch the notes or refer back to that, right? Where we talked about, you know, when is there a restriction on the domain? Well, for our purposes, it's mostly just going to be when there's a fraction in the formula for the function and x is in the denominator of the fraction. So this is not that case, right? There's no number that would be a problem here, right? I can square any number, right? Just multiply the number by itself. I can do that with any number. Same thing over here, right? I can multiply any number by 5 and subtract 10. Okay, so both of these domains have no restrictions, right? So that means for f plus g, right? F plus g, f minus g, f times g, right? You can kind of think about what those formulas would be based on, you know, what we've done so far in this lesson, right? These are all just going to be formulas without a denominator with x, right? So there's just not going to be a restriction. Okay, so what that means is, what am I going to choose here? It's just answer choice B, right? All real numbers. X and x is a real number. Okay, so again, right? No fraction in the formula with x in the bottom, no restriction on the domain. Okay. Oh, all right. What is the domain? Oh, I see. You have the difference. Oh, you have to do each one. Okay, so they're all the same thing, right? The sum, the difference, and then this is going to be the product, right? So we already sort of talked about all of them. Okay, so you have to say each one, x is a real number. All right, now here it's a little bit different, right? So again, we're talking about the sum, difference, and product. It's still always going to be the same, right? These are pretty much, I could erase these commas. This is pretty much always going to be like this, right? They're always going to basically be equal. Uh-oh, I think Microsoft Word just crashed on me. Okay, hang on just a second. Okay, so basically what I'm saying here is that, right, for the two, for any f and g, pretty much, right, in our case, these are always going to be equal. The domain, this is actually wrong, right? what I'm saying is the domain of this equals the domain of this. Obviously, the formulas are not going to be equal. That's wrong. So don't look at that top line, right? But what I'm saying is the domains are always equal. So like on this one, all we have to do is find which one of these has a restricted domain. It's the formula for f of x. So all I have to do is find the restriction on the domain of f, right? So here I have f of x is equal to 1 over x minus 9. Okay, and so just remember the rule is that the bottom of this cannot be equal to 0. Where did that go? X minus 9. Okay, right. So my rule is that, right, if there's something I could plug in for x that would make the bottom equal to 0, then I would have 1 divided by 0, which is undefined, right? You're thinking to yourself, how many times do I have to add 0 to itself before I get to 1? Well, that'll never happen, right? So, here you can kind of see that it's going to be 9, but one way to do it also, like I showed you in the notes, is to solve this simple equation for x, right? Set the denominator equal to 0 and solve for x. Right? So we get x equals 9. So that is what we throw out of the domain, right? If you think about finding, go over here and find f of 9, right? F of 9 would be 1 over 9 minus 9. Well, that's 1 divided by 0, right? That is not a number. That's what we say is undefined. Okay, so now the way we write this is, so on our answers, they're all going to be the same again, right? So the sum is first, right? The domain is x such that x is a real number. Let me enlarge this. X such that x is a real number and x is not equal to 9. So you're going to have to hit x and then the not equal to button down there and then 9. Okay, and then it's going to be the same thing on all of them. X not equal to 9. And the same thing here for the product. X not equal to 9. Okay. All right, now on the last one, it's asking us for the domain of f over g. So now this is a little different. Okay, so remember f over g. Let's write the formulas down. So in number 16, I've got f of x is this line, 9x minus 5. G of x is another line, 5x minus 20. And we want f over g of x, right? Well, that would just be take the formula for f of x, divide it by the formula for g of x. So that would look like this, 9x minus 5 divided by 5x minus 20. So you can see here, if 5x minus 20 equals 0, we're going to have a problem, right? So we're going to be dividing a number by 0, which will be undefined. So again, how do we find what that x is that will be a problem for us? Let's just set the bottom equal to 0 and then solve it for x. So minus 20. Here I'm going to add 20 to both sides. So it looks like 5x equals 20, right? Those cancel. 5x equals 20. And now if I divide both sides by 5, I see that x equals 4, right? That's going to be my problem right there. So now I go over here. I say the domain is going to be all the x values except I can't have x equal to 4. So x is a real number and x is not equal to 4. Okay, and that is it. That's the, what was that, 2.4 homework.